Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Talking Animation podcast. And this is a show where we like to talk about indie animated films or obscure animation. And this week, or I should say this month, we are having a lot of fun because we are talking about Animation as Film Festival. So we're talking about a ton of different animated films. And I wasn't able to attend, but I did get to see some of the films. And my friend Stanford was able to attend, so I was so jealous. But I was so happy for you that you got to go.
Well, thanks, Rachel. Yeah, I've been wanting to go to this festival for years, and you inspired me to be able to go this year. I'm sorry you weren't there, because I think it would have been just as good as you said it's been in the past.
I've only been one time before. But our friend Cameron, who's been on the show a couple times, he raved and raved about it. And so I'd been wanting to go. So I went last year and it was a great experience. But this year, since I got home from the New York Film Festival on the 17th, I just couldn't make another trip happen on, the 20th, basically, is what I would have had to do. So that, just in a couple days, that would have just been, it was just too much.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Especially with Christmas movies starting.
Oh my gosh, Rachel. I don't know how you do that.
The kickoff for Countdown to Christmas was the 20th. So yeah.
All right.
Or 21st. Yeah.
Holy smokes.
So I had to let it go. It wasn't going to happen. But I hope I can go next year.
Yes.
I can hopefully go to the early part of New York Film Festival because it's a long festival. That's one of the I guess pluses or minuses. If you live in New York, it's probably a great plus.
Right.
Because
you can just kind of catch movies as you can with your work schedule or whatever.
Yeah, and you don't have to do like it's Sundance where you're watching 5-6 movies a day.
Intense. Yeah. Yeah.
And you just watch one or two maybe. And so that's good, but yeah, the press screenings for New York Film Festival start on the 26th, and it goes until the 17th. So it's a long festival.
Yeah.
So most people kind of pick parts that they're going to go to. I picked the later part because my friend who I was staying with, who was so kind to let me stay on her couch, I'm so grateful. But that was the more convenient time for her, so that's what I picked. And so it was great, and I had a great experience. So, I can't complain too loudly. So many festivals, so little time.
I know. Exactly. Exactly. Well, I'm so excited to talk with you about this, and thanks for having me on again.
Did you kind of plan, was it sort of last minute? That was the vibe I kind of got. Or
it was last minute.
Yeah.
I thought, I was hoping that I could go, and then tickets became available, and then I was kind of evaluating my schedule and my budget and whatnot, and just thinking, well, I think this is probably the year to do it. So I was able to get tickets to the things I wanted to see, and then got my plane ticket, and was off.
Yeah, and part of the reason why I only ended up getting to see 3 of the movies was my own fault. They were so kind, so generous to have this virtual film festival, but I thought that it was that they had made this statement about how the festival was going to be 2 weekends this year instead of 1, and so because they were doing what's the movie?
They're showing Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. As we're recording, they're showing it's tonight.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I thought that the virtual also lasted the 2 weeks and not just the 1 week, and that was my own fault. I've just been so busy. Like a chicken with his head cut off, running around, and so I thought, I've got more time, and so I could have watched a few more of these. I had the codes, but my own mistake. So I'm excited to hear from you about them. But I did get a couple watched. So anyway, all the long and short of it, overall, what do you think of the festival?
Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I had so much fun, and just saw wonderful films from all around the world. And just thoroughly enjoyed myself. As you mentioned, if I'm not mistaken, Rachel, typically the festival is just over a weekend, right? It's kind of like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They added on this Pinocchio one after I had even bought the tickets, but I couldn't have made it back down for a second weekend, schedule and everything wise. But they had the initial weekend of films was at the TCL Chinese Theater Multiplex, which is right next door to,
Yeah.
and that's where yours was too, right?
Yeah, same last year, yeah.
And then just FYI, the Pinocchio screening tonight is actually at the Samuel Goldwyn Theater, which is run by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. So
There's a ton of hype for that movie. People are talking, could it be a Best Picture nominee?
Yeah.
I mean, things I haven't heard about an animated film for quite a while.
Yeah, and that screening sold out. So I'm excited, and I'm so glad that we get to, we'll get to see it. I'd like to see it on the big screen.
Yeah, I think it is getting a very short
limited
run. Like
run.
a week or 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
I know they're doing a critic screening at least.
Yeah.
So I will hopefully get a chance to see it on the big screen, which will be really exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, and I was kind of bummed that I couldn't see it, at the festival. But I was happy to. I mean, I saw a lot, Rach. So I saw 8 films total. I guess technically 6 films, and then 2 work in progress presentations.
And then you also saw Nightmare.
And then I went. Yeah, it's just
right?
like at the very end, the last night on Sunday night, I went and saw the late show at the El Capitan across the street, and saw The Nightmare Before Christmas, because I just thought that would be kind of a fun way to end the animation weekend. I like that film, and I love the El Capitan Theater. So
I'd like to go there one of these days.
oh my gosh, you gotta go, and for sure. I mean, clearly they're all Disney movies that play there, either Disney, or anything released from Walt Disney Studios, Marvel, Star Wars. I think that they're going to be playing Avatar there too. So the 20th Century Fox, the big tentpole, all these picks from them will probably be playing there too. But they've got a Wurlitzer organ, and it's just it's beautiful, and then also just beautiful presentation. This Nightmare Before Christmas, I guess I don't mean to put the cart before the horse, but they were saying it's in 4D. So it was a 3D screening, and I quite like that 3D. Have you seen Nightmare Before Christmas in 3D?
I don't think I have.
Yeah, I can't remember what year.
It was me. I was going to say one of my friends rented out it was me. I rented out the theater.
It was you. In fact, I think I was there.
Yeah, I think you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they didn't show the 3D one.
And then we did Iron Giant too.
Yes,
I rented that. That was
which
really
was so fun.
Yeah, that was really fun.
You were so nice to do that, and nice to include me. Thank you.
Well, the Nightmare Before Christmas one, I actually won in like a Cinemark giveaway. So that was very nice.
Yeah,
of them.
So, Rachel, I can't remember the year, but they, Disney remastered it in 3D, and I saw it in Salt Lake. It's just some, at Jordan Commons or someplace. And
I feel
it's
like
a
that
really
was
nice
the thing of like the early to mid 2000s.
Mm-hmm. That sounds
I could
right.
Be wrong, but they went on a streak where they were doing.
They went on a streak
because
they did Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
And I quite liked this, and I thought they did a really nice job in 3D. It looked great, and then they have a lot of in-theater effects at the El Capitan,
that's fun.
which make it quote unquote 4D, and they're mostly lighting effects. But they've got like ghosts that they'll project on or different things they were projecting on the ceiling, or
that's cool.
the lies they when Jack goes to Christmas Land, or Christmas Town, or whatever. There's all these Christmas lights that appear in the theater and stuff. So anyway, it's fun.
Cool.
It's a little. They charge
Immersive.
premium prices, but. I love the El Capitan. I hope you get a chance to go there. Love it. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
But so the opening night film, Rach, was Wendell and Wild.
Yes. So this is, of course, by director Henry Selick. He hadn't made a movie in 13 years. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And he was there. This was I think the U.S. premiere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is currently on Netflix as of recording, so anybody can watch it. And it's about this little girl named Kat, who, what do they call it? That she comes in contact with a hell maiden.
Yeah,
right?
it's Hail Maiden.
Hell Maiden. And you have Wendell and Wild. These are demons, basically, that she makes a deal with them to try to get her parents back because her parents pass away at the beginning of the movie in a car crash.
And she feels like she's to blame. I mean, she
Right.
kind of is.
Because she sort of distracted them because she had a worm. But
Yeah.
who wouldn't? Who wouldn't?
Yeah, I
If
mean,
you had a worm in your apple.
exactly.
Well, overall, what did you think about this?
It's not really. It wasn't my jam. Or the best way to say it. It was fun to see a new film by Henry Selick because he's just so iconic in I think within the animation community, and again because he hadn't made a film for so long. Of course, he was collaborating with the It Boys, Key and Peele, and they were there. Although Jordan Peele didn't come into the screening, but I saw that there were pictures of him on the red carpet. I didn't see him, but Keegan Michael Key was there. But of course, Henry Selick. One of the things that was interesting about this, Rachel, though, and you probably saw this too, but Henry Selick used an illustrator. So a guy who doesn't work in animation at all, but he does illustrations like for newspapers and magazines, named Pablo Lobato. And I'm not sure where he's from, if he's from Europe or Latin America, but he's really, I think, where the film gets its, in combination, of course, of Henry Selick, but where the film really gets its distinctive style. If you look, I found his Instagram, and if you look at his pictures, you can think, oh yeah, I can see how it's like he made these creations for the Key and Peele characters, aka Wendell and Wild, that they tried to emulate within the stop motion. I mean, within the actual puppets, and so there was some stuff that was fun. I know that, and Henry Selick talked about this too, because as one of the things that I think we both had commented that we love about this festival is that there's with the Q&A, that's after the film screening is always so interesting. But Henry Selick talked about how he's very attracted to creating films that combine scary elements with funny and emotional elements. And, I think we can see that, like, of course, with The Nightmare Before Christmas, but also really with Coraline. That I think has a real scary sense to it as well. Or would you call it scary, Rach? I mean, is that the right word? I mean, that's the word that Henry Selick used, but anyway, but Wendell and Wild just really didn't really float my boat for a lot of reasons. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of my own personal disappointment kind of goes into this, that I was really looking forward to it. I mean, I was somewhat not in love with the trailers, so maybe I shouldn't have been so disappointed. But I thought that I would at least enjoy the animation more than I did, if I'm being blunt.
Yeah.
I thought the story was messy. It
so
instead
complicated.
Instead of having Kat and Wendell and Wild together, they really weren't together for hardly any of the film. And so you don't get any sense of like momentum. You're constantly flipping back and forth between Wendell and Wild and their shenanigans with Beelzebub and other kind of things going on, and then you've got everything going on with Kat at the school and with the Hell Maiden nun and the Mean Girls, and it just felt messy to me. The script,
I thought the script was messy. It was convoluted, and the whole, and it's just so many subplots.
So many subplots, and it just made it hard to get invested in her character.
Yeah.
Or to Wendell and Wild, either one. It was just kind of, I was just like, and because it was so messy, it kind of became dull, and I was just not invested in the story.
Yeah. That subplot that goes on and on about the prison developers,
Oh, yeah. Ugh.
that you're just like, what is this really? I mean, it kind of all came together at some point, but it reminded me in a way. It made me think of with Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which we recently watched and talked about.
Yeah.
That film successfully weaves different sort of subplots or things all together, in one. Like with the whole thing about the Cloverleaf Freeway, and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it works because in a sense it follows through. Where this was it just felt like stuff was getting thrown in, and I'm with you. None of it really came together or made sense, or really just wasn't pleasing.
Yeah. Well, in Roger Rabbit, like Bob Hoskins is in like 90% of that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, almost every scene, and so you have that sort of narrator thread through the story to become invested in his character, and then of course Roger's character. But it just felt like it was like a ping pong match between these two sets, and then also, so I know there's this designer that you talked about, but one of the great things about Henry Selick's animation, whether it's James and the Giant Peach or Coraline or Nightmare Before Christmas, is even though they're dark and there's a dark sensibility to all of his movies, there's usually some whimsy, and the stop motion animation has a like tactile like a feeling that you can reach out and touch it, kind of a quality. It feels like a real character. When we just talked about Kubo the other day, about how there's definitely some CG in Kubo, but there's still the puppets, and there's a earthy quality to it. It grounds the picture. This, I felt like there was a lot of CG going on.
Yeah, I did too.
And every background felt like CG. I'm sure that's not true, but it just felt kind of plasticky, and it felt, I was just missing that charm and that whimsy. I thought almost every character was kind of ugly, and that's just obviously personal taste. I mean, Kat has her moments where she's cute, but I don't know. I just was missing that whimsy and that fantasy and that stop motion tactileness that I love in stop motion, whether it's the Wes Anderson stop motion or whether, whereas like in like those Wes Anderson stop motion where you can see like all the little details in the background that have been created by the puppeteers that look tactile and real. And, you'll see like little items on a shelf, or on, that have been created or on a mantle or something like that. With Aardman, it's the same way. Even a movie that I didn't love, like Early Man, I can still enjoy watching it because I can see all the time that went into crafting, like the stadiums and the throne, the room that's kind of a throne type room, or just things like that are just really fun for an animation fan like myself. And I just rarely had that experience watching this. And I understand that all stop motion uses CG. I get that, but I just felt like this one was missing the artistry that I love in Henry Selick's films. And again, his movies are always dark, but something like Coraline is full of heart and charm, and I love it. I really love that movie. And so I was disappointed. I really wanted to love it.
Yeah. I'm with you. It was not my thing. The crowd, a lot of people sitting around me had worked on the film. Yeah, because I could just the way I could hear these conversations going on, and so it almost felt like, and there was a lot of enthusiasm in the room. And I think part of it was because they were a little starstruck because Henry Selick was there, of course.
Sure.
And Keegan-Michael Key and whatnot. But I wondered if I had attended another screening, that just was more just kind of moviegoers, if they would have been as enthusiastic.
Yeah, I mean, because the pretty much everyone I know out of TIFF didn't like it, of my friends and stuff, like my friend Scott Menzel. He warned me. He was like, "You're not gonna like it." So, yeah, and it is hard in those. Like I tell people all the time that don't trust festivals.
Yeah,
because it's hard
true.
when that hype is out there and the people are sitting right there, all of that. It can be tough. I feel like I've done Sundance enough times that I'm cold and unfeeling.
Yeah, no, and I guess in my own small way, same here, Rachel, because again, I'm by no means as experienced as you are with this, but I didn't feel like I fell for the hype. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, there was fun energy, and I enjoyed that, but I also was just thinking, dang, I wish this movie had been better. Or I wish I had liked this movie better.
You even said in your social media, you were like, it was not a favorite of mine. I didn't love it.
Yeah,
so
I
was like, oh, okay.
I didn't love it.
Yeah, I gave it a very low score. I had started on Letter. I haven't written my review yet, but I had given it 1.5 stars, which I bumped it up to 2. But I found it a tough watch.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine was saying that he stopped halfway through, and I was like, I kind of get it. If you're not like an animation critic, if you're not there's no reason for you to finish it.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of get it. It was messy.
Yep.
So, not to start off on a dour note, but
still, and it's fun. Also just as a side note too, something that I think you and I both appreciate. Leonard Maltin was there in the audience,
Oh, yeah?
and so that was cool.
That is cool.
He was sitting on the row in front of me, and I wanted to nerd out and talk to him and get a selfie, but I left him alone. He was pretty. There were a lot of people around him. And then
I got a picture with him at D23.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. It was just so cool.
Him and Jesse. That was fun.
But yeah, Jesse wasn't there. He was just by himself. It looked like, but and there might have been some other kind of higher profile or celebrity people in the room that I just didn't get to see. But anyway, that was also for me. We'll get to this other film, but that one probably was the biggest crowd.
Okay.
Was Wendell Wild too. Yeah.
Well, then you saw a early presentation of Strange World.
Yes.
Next,
so that was Friday night was Wendell Wild, and Saturday morning was this work in progress they were calling it of Strange World, and really it was just like a presentation with some clips shown. It wasn't like I was kind of hoping that we would see some unfinished animation or not, but all the animation they showed was finished. What they told us was just that there might be some additional sound and music added when we see the finished product.
They did the same thing for Encanto.
Yeah, I was going to ask you because it seemed to me that's what I remembered you telling me that's what they did for Encanto last year.
Yeah, we got to see the whole Family Madrigals number.
Fun. Okay, that opening number.
Opening number, and I feel like one other thing, but I can't remember. But a lot of the backstory of them going to Colombia and all of that and their trips and that kind of thing that was behind the scenes. So it was really fun. And I know that you and I have been a little bit like, I don't know, a little bit about this movie. We're unsure.
Yeah.
Of course, we're always going to be excited about the next Disney Canon film. But how did you feel about it after this presentation?
Much more optimistic. So the presentation was producer Roy Conley. He was just there by himself. I mean, he had some support people there out, in the audience, and also someone running the slides for him, and the film. But PowerPoint. But yeah, it wasn't like he brought up other people on the stage or anything. It was just him.
Oh. Okay.
And I've I'm familiar with Roy. I don't think I've ever seen him in person, but maybe I have a D23 or something. But he's done a lot at Disney. He started as a producer. His background actually is in live theater, but he joined Disney as a producer. His first film that he worked on was The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and then he's been there ever since.
Oh, cool.
I'm trying to think of what most recently worked. I know for sure he was one of the producers on Tangled, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. He was on Tangled, and Big Hero 6. And I'm trying to think of what else he tells. Anyway, I mean, of course we can IMDb him, but I just say that it was a credible person who's been close to the production. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. And so he had a slide. He had a slide deck and showed us, just gave us a pretty good overview of what this movie's going to be about. So it's directed by Don Hall, and I'm so sorry about I'm going to butcher his name, Kui Nguyen.
Oh yeah.
Most likely he's a playwright and and a screenwriter, and he was involved with Raya and the Last Dragon at Walt Disney Animation Studios. He, if I'm not mistaken, he was the writer, and he might have been a co-director on that too. But for sure, he was a writer, and I think he also, I'm not sure how much he did with Encanto, but for sure he was on Raya. And they were going for an adventure film that was reminiscent of like H.G. Wells or Edgar Rice Burroughs books. So it's an original story. And Roy said that the main thing that they were really, like the theme that they were looking for in the movie is a person's legacy. And what does that mean? What kind of legacy are you leaving to your children, to your family, to your community? Just this whole theme about legacy. And then he went to explain in more detail the story, which is about 3 generations of the Clade family. So Clade is, so the main character is voiced by Jake Gyllenhaal. His name is Searcher Clade. And you and I have talked about, I think, about the character design of these, and again, kind of we're not sure about what we think of the character design of these films or of this film. But seeing so we've got Searcher Clade, and then his son, Searcher Clade's son, who is.
Are you a fan of Rachel's reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night, or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
And what happened is they're on a different, I think they're on like a different planet. I can't, or, but it's not. But that's not necessarily. It's almost like Journey to the Center of the Earth, but they're not on Earth, right?
And the grandpa gets lost, right?
Well, what happens? So the grandpa is this great explorer, and when Searcher, who's Jake Gyllenhaal, the main character, is a younger child, they are going on this big excursion. And Jaeger decides to go forward while the rest of the group goes back, and Jaeger is never heard from again, or up until the movie gets going. Something is happening with the climate, and so they go under. They bring in Searcher, and it's a character named Lucy Liu, who I think is like the president of this country, or wherever they are, and she's the one who's got that big funky spaceship that we see in the trailers.
Okay, yeah,
that big kind of green spaceship. So she enlists Jake Gyllenhaal to come help. I guess he's got the skills, and plus it's his dad. Anyone know? But I don't think they're necessarily looking for the dad. They're trying to go figure out what is happening. Inside this planet to make these cause these problems, and the boy, the son, as well as the dog that they have, and it's a 3-legged dog. So the dog has only got 3 legs, and it was very interesting. They showed some animation tests on him, how they've animated this dog, and it looks like it's also the dog steals the show. One of those two. How good Disney is with their animal sidekicks, or can be so good at animal sidekicks.
So what was it that kind of won you over, that got you hyped?
So this set, so they get reconnected with the dad, the Dennis Quaid character, when they go into into the quote unquote strange world, and so it's a combination of the adventure looks really cool. What director Don Hall and did was he just challenged the animators to be as creative as possible, and that's like all those crazy like flying creatures and pink plants and all the stuff that we see. That's really just like the creativity of the animators, kind of letting them go wild.
That part of it kind of reminded me a little bit of the Croods, like the first Croods, all of the prehistoric creature designs that they did. Very creative.
And so the scenes that they showed, Rachel, they showed like 6 segments, and most of them were action scenes. And I just thought that I'm a sucker for a good action scene, and so they all looked they were exciting and interesting and humorous. And also, I just loved the idea about this. It's going to be. It's really like a father-son movie, and so, of course, that's something that's appealing to me. I don't know if it's going to be appealing to everybody.
Yeah.
But that's knowing that made it. Oh, okay. I get it now. I kind of get the posters now because I don't really like this campaign.
Yeah, it's not been great.
But the posters have the 3 male characters. It's Yeager Quaid, Dennis Quaid, Searcher Quaid, Gyllenhaal, and then Ethan Quaid by Jabuki.
Yeah, I mean, and the posters for Tangled were terrible. So you never know, and that's one of my favorites. So you never know.
You never know. We might all be surprised. Of course, Roy Conley is not going to be downplaying it. He's trying to get everybody pumped up. So, but and I don't know about other people because I didn't talk to anybody. I was just kind of a loner and just did my thing. And also, what was interesting to me, Rachel, is that this work in progress screening was not crowded. There were probably only like 30 people there, and I'm kind of like, what the heck? Because that to me was like the draw.
That's really interesting.
I was much more interested in seeing this than I was in seeing Wendell and Wild. But one other side note, I thought I saw a tweet like before the festival started that they had opened up that screening to D23 members if they wanted to, pay the $15 or whatever and go to the.
I just wonder if also like people are so scared of spoilers these days that maybe like the idea of a first look is actually kind of not that appealing. I don't know. Was there? Well, let's talk about the Puss in Boots. The Last Wish.
Yeah, and just one other thing that I saw, if I could, just about Strange World. I don't believe that they gave any. They were careful about spoilers too. I mean, just as far, but I thought they gave enough of the plot, and also we learned early on that they get reunited with with the Dennis Quaid character with Searcher Quaid's dad. That's. So that's if they were trying to keep that secret, it's not.
Yeah, but anyway. I just wonder if that's maybe why some people are like,
why they don't want to go.
Yeah, they're nervous about that because people get so worked up about that these days. But were there more people at the Puss in Boots?
Yes, there were more people. Part of it, though, I think again because it was like, so the Strange World one started at 11 a.m. on Saturday, which isn't necessarily early, but it was the first screening of the day. So, and then Puss in Boots started at 1, and I wonder if that was part of it. But also, they had just more people from DreamWorks there. They did a panel. The director, Joel Crawford, led this panel of like 6 other artists and technology people, that were on this panel. And then there was just more. I think there was just more people there, and I didn't feel like it was just because more people were necessarily interested in it. I just think that there were plenty of DreamWorks people there, and then also just a little later on in the day.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
for Puss in Boots, they showed the first 30 minutes,
Oh.
and so basically we saw all of Act One, and then we had this panel discussion, which was very interesting. The main takeaway, Rach, we've talked about how appealing the animation looks,
Yeah.
and of course that was very intentional. What director Joel Crawford was referring to it as was a fairy tale painting, and they wanted it to look different, and they thought, what if we tried to make a painting, come to life, and they worked really hard on it, and I think that they were successful. And also, because the trailers looked very appealing to me, and I laugh every time. I've seen that trailer 100 times, and I still laugh every time. So I think, okay. And then a lot of the jokes from Act One are in the trailer, but still, I thought I got off to a very promising start, and I'm really excited about this film.
Oh, that's so cool. I love the animation. I think it looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And I've said for years that I think that Puss in Boots as a character and Antonio Banderas as the voice actor is one of the best uses of celebrity voice casting.
Oh, amen. No question.
Any animated film. It's so... Like, people may have different feelings about his first Puss in Boots movie or the Shrek movie season, but I enjoyed him well enough, but I think that the character is very well done, and I think his voice is perfect.
Yeah.
For the part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
So that makes me very excited.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next you saw My Father's Dragon.
Yes.
And this is the Cartoon Saloon presentation there. And was Nora Toomey there?
Yes. So Nora Toomey was there.
Director.
The director, writer Meg Lefauve, if I'm saying her name right, was there. And in fact, I was sitting next to her, what I believe was her husband and her family. Mm-hmm. And she then sat like 2 seats away from me. And I talked with her after the movie, and she's like, I was using you as my gauge for how people were, liking this movie. And I thought, well, that's not good and bad, probably. Not that it's a bad movie. It's just, I was kind of sitting there, and I don't know. I don't feel like I was being that expressive. I was just more like, taking it in. So,
yeah.
But, what was interesting, just a little interesting backstory about this film, Meg was the one, she and her writing partner at the time, it sounded like they're no longer collaborating together, and I didn't get the person's name, although I'm sure we can look it up, purchased the rights to this film, or to this story. It's based on a children's book that was, published years ago. And so she was the one who was, she shopped this project to different animation studios, and Cartoon Saloon and Netflix were the ones who bid on it. And initially Tom Moore was, I think, co-directing, and then it all got turned over to Nora, right? I'm saying her name right.
Yeah, I think Toomey.
Nora Toomey, yeah.
Toomey, yeah.
And so anyway, go on, please.
Yeah. So I've seen this one. I got to see a screener, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know if you agree, but I felt like this one is more for little kids than some of the other cartoons.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. This was really almost for preschool.
Yeah.
Kind of
there are a
audience.
few moments of like deeper themes that might be a little hard for preschool when you're talking about like not being able to like poverty and loss and things like that, but those have always been a part of animated films. So
yeah.
But I other than those moments, I guess that might have to be managed by a parent, that a kid might get a little upset. Most of the movie, 99% of the movie, is very sweet, very whimsical. Has very sweet characters. The animation feels for younger kids, which I think that's great. I think we should make more movies that engage younger children. I don't have a problem with that.
Sure.
But that was just something that compared to The Breadwinner, her previous film, which was very heavy.
Heavy. Yeah.
But good. I loved it.
Oh, it was an excellent film. Yeah.
Yeah. But this one was just way more magical and sweet. And
and just, whimsical. I was just, and what I told the writer, what I told Meg was I was kind of entranced by it.
Yeah.
Because just the color palette was lovely, and the animation, is done in a 2D style with whatever tools they were using. But they, one of the things that I loved about, like, let's say the Book of Kells or Song of the Sea, was the simplicity yet the depth of the animation and the complexity of it. And I didn't feel like this had any of the complexity. And I don't mean that as a criticism, because I don't think that's what they were going for. As we said, they were going for something that was very flat. It kind of reminded me in a lot of ways of like Mary Blair from Disney. If you see some of her, some of her work. Yeah. And
I feel like a lot of Peter Pan. With them going to this island, and there's these magical creatures. So I think that I think it'll be really. I think it'll be a favorite. I think a lot of families will. I think a lot of families are going
to enjoy it. It's so family friendly and just it's lovely. The again, not so. The right, Meg, I'm on this first name basis with her or whatever, but anyway, she was saying, just because I don't want to keep butchering her last name, but she was saying too that they had to develop this additional plot because it's just kind of this really simple story about the island sinking and all of that was not part of the book. And, and I understand it, but also, again, that's, I think, the problem of adapting children's books into feature films. That when you have to add all this stuff, does it really help it? I don't know. But regardless, it was very cute, and I was very happy to have a chance to see it.
Great voice cast. I think people will really enjoy it. It's one of my favorites of 2022, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a good film.
I really liked it. Okay. So then you saw a short film, Summer Ghost?
Well, it was, 40 minutes, but still, they're calling it as short. Called
featurette, maybe? You might
a featurette I think would have been a better name. But called Summer Ghost. And it's anime, so the director, he goes by the name Lone Drow. I've never heard of him before. He's also been an illustrator. Have you heard of Lone Drow?
No, I never have.
Yeah. And also all lowercase. So that's how, he spells his name, Loundraw. So I don't know what his actual name is. Maybe it's, some kind of thing. But, he's this artist from Japan. He was there.
Yeah.
And the short film actually came out in 2021, but the festival committee decided to screen it at the festival, which I'm glad they did. Because it was very, thanks to you, I just appreciating anime more and more, and so I enjoyed seeing this on the big screen. It's this supernatural story about growing up, basically, and somebody dies. And there's a lot going on. Even with this short film, it was kind of convoluted. Plus, it was with subtitles. But anyway, I was happy to see it. It didn't. I don't believe it was in competition either, because again, it was older. I just think they were able to get the artist or get the director there, and it was cool for him to be able to screen it at this festival.
Yeah,
and help an American audience. See it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Have you seen it or heard about it, Rachel? Do you know? Have you ever?
It sounds. vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
Summer Ghost. I feel like maybe I've seen it, maybe on Twitter or people. Yeah, because I have a bunch of anime friends in the anime community. I feel like I've heard it somewhere, but nothing much. So that's cool. I'll have to look out for it.
So okay, so that was my Saturday. Summer Ghost was the last film I saw.
Okay.
On Saturday.
And then so Sunday you had TITINA.
Yes.
Which is a Norwegian film, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I was able to see this. I got
Yay.
a screener, so thank you to the distributor, the PR guy. He was kind enough to help me out. And this is basically about the Norwegian explorer Roald Amundsen, and then this Italian engineer Umberto Nobile, who built an airship to go to the North Pole.
Yeah.
And it's all told through their little dog, Titina.
Yeah, Umberto adopts this little dog named Titina, and yeah, it's fun that it's told through Titina's eyes. This experience.
It kind of reminded me a little bit of Sergeant Stubby.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was thinking of when I was watching it.
Yeah.
Like, I've got to talk to Rachel about this.
They don't anthropomorphize the dog, thank goodness.
Yeah,
just like Sergeant Stubby.
That was I think a good creative choice.
And they work in real pictures and things of the real explorers in the North Pole and stuff, which is fun. And overall, I just thought it was super cute.
It was really an enjoyable film to watch. At the festival, the director, and I'm so sorry about my pronunciation, Kajasin. I don't know how you pronounce that race, but she was there along with one of the producers, and it was so wonderful just to hear her talk about it. This has been a labor of love. It's been a long journey for them to try to make it. It was produced in Norway and in Belgium, and really enjoyed it. And I'm hoping that this film is going to come to be able to get distributed in the U.S. in some way, if not on a streaming platform.
It's so sweet. I think a lot of families would enjoy watching it.
I do too. Yeah. And then what I like about it too is the director was very clear about this, and they as well as how they presented in the film. This is mostly true. I mean, the video is not like they're not like trying to be completely truthful. They're not trying to be dishonest. It's just they're it's for they have to adapt it for film, but I love the animation.
It was beautiful.
It's beautiful. Yeah, beautiful, and really a compelling story. And Titina was so cute.
So cute.
Yeah.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
All right, so then you got to see Little Nicholas, and this is the one I'm kicking myself for because I did have a screener, and
I'm so sorry you didn't get this, and I hope you'll get to because it's terrific. This was my favorite film of the festival.
Yeah,
and it also took the grand jury prize.
Oh, really?
Too. Yeah.
Well, I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm going to keep emailing that distributor.
Yeah, I hope you can see it. And I hope again that we're going to get to see it. They're going to get to distribute it in the U.S. Somehow if they're going to put it.
Tell us about it.
So, Little Nicholas, or Le Petit Nicolas, there's my French for the day. He in real life is a very popular comic character, like, comic strip or comic book, or he's a beloved character in France. It reminded me. It was created in the 1950s, and reminded me honestly of like Peanuts in the U.S. Little Nicholas is like the main character, and he's got parents, and then it just goes about just his adventures, going to school, going to summer camp, hanging out with his friends and whatnot. He's a little mischievous, but it was just adorable. And so this film, though, what was so interesting about it to me is that it not only told multiple little stories of Little Nicholas on film, that I guess stories that people are already familiar with and that they like, but also was the story about the two creators. So Little Nicholas was created by an artist named Jean-Jacques Sempe, and then it was written by a writer named René Goscinny, and René Goscinny also was involved with the Asterisk comics. Does that ring a bell? I think I'm saying it right.
I feel like I've heard of that.
It's like Asterix, I think. Yeah, and it's a comic book series that has like these Vikings, or like this one character, that's got like a Viking helmet. And anyway, I remember seeing Asterisk a lot. Like, I think it's popular throughout Europe. I think I remember seeing it in Italy when I lived in Italy during my missionary days. But anyway, no, I'm not necessarily that familiar with the characters, but this writer was also involved with Asterisk, but it's done in this gorgeous 2D animation. And Rachel, it kind of reminded me of the way when with the Winnie the Pooh shorts, as well as with that 2011 feature, how
it looks kind of like
comes
Ernest
to life on the
Celestine
page
too to me.
What's that? I'm sorry.
It looked kind of like Ernest and Celestine to
Yeah.
me.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And so it's set in Paris, and it's really it's an optimistic film, and just goes for charm, and there's some stuff that's a little serious in it, but it's not heavy. It was just like taking a trip to France for 90 minutes, and it could not have been more delightful. I just can't say enough about this film.
Oh, is it set in modern era?
It's set around the time that this character was created, so in the 1950s.
Okay. Cool. I'll definitely keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, so I definitely, and I hope I'm not overselling it, but it did win the Grand Jury Prize there, and it also, I think, won the Cristal Award at the Annecy Film Festival earlier in the year.
That says a lot.
So I think it's just a terrific film. Loved it. I wish I could. I hope I could see it again.
That seems like one of those movies that could. There's always that like indie that sneaks in to the Oscars that people are like, what's that? And we're all like, yay!
I know.
People who know.
Exactly.
But then you saw the last one was Aurora Sunrise.
Yes.
So this is interesting.
This is such an interesting film, and again, reminded me of some of the stuff that we've watched for indie animation or obscure animation, because it's a documentary that uses it's, I guess, a hybrid or multimedia. It uses a lot of animation, but it also uses some film footage and some photographs and whatnot. And the animation style is very distinct, very distinctive. And also what was interesting is this, next to Wendell Wild, this was the most crowded film that I saw. And part of that was because there is a very, I guess, energized and connected Armenian community in Los Angeles. So a lot of these people that were there, like the people who were sitting next to me, they weren't necessarily film people or animation people, but they were Armenians. coming to support this film. So what it's about is there's a woman, a true, in real life, named Aurora Mardigania. She was born in 1901 in Armenia. She died in 1994, but she was a survivor of the Armenian genocide that happened during World War One, and it's where I think it was the Turks, but anyway, it was, not unlike the Holocaust, where if you were Armenian, you got gathered up and you pretty much got killed. And so this woman, named Aurora, and I think she had a different name, but Aurora was the name. She is able to stay alive, but just barely, and she gets raped and abused by the soldiers, and all this just horrific stuff is happening to her. And it's again based. Sorry, I just don't think I mentioned this. Aurora Mardigania did an oral history of this, which is part of the record. I think it might be at like a USC or something. But anyway, I saw some of it on YouTube as I was trying to learn more about this film and also the horrible history of it. But this documentary is so compelling. Aurora finally gets over to America, and she gets discovered by some Hollywood producer, and they literally make a film about the Armenian genocide starring her, and they use that as like a propaganda film to show Americans what was happening there, and to help the cause of the Armenians. And so I felt like it was a very important film. What I think is happened, Rach, is that Armenia has submitted this film to the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences as their film for to be considered for a International Film Oscar. And then it'll be interesting to see what happens with it within the animation community.
Because I think that Waltz with Bashir,
yes,
was also nominated for Best International.
Yeah, it's it reminds me very much of that. And I'm so
Flea,
sorry I
of
forget
course.
the name of the one that we watched about the Texas shooting.
Oh yeah, Tower. Yeah, Tower, and then Flea last year.
Yes,
of course.
yes.
Then there's also, I can't think of the name, but there was the mountain climbing one that was also last year.
Oh right.
And then there's of course Marcel Shell was a mockumentary, or not mockumentary, but a faux documentary.
Yes.
And then remember we saw that movie Funan.
Yeah. Yeah.
About the Cambodian genocide. So I really like that we're seeing this more in animation. We're seeing this kind of mixture of documentary and animation.
So the director, her name is Ina Sayakan.
Mm-hmm.
She professionally makes live action documentaries, and then wanted to pursue this project, and they just thought that animation could be a way to more effectively tell this story. And the animation is really quite stunning. And it's a heartbreaking, horrible story.
Yeah.
They ended trying to make it, kind of more hopeful in nature, but I think clearly the Armenian community was very moved by it, by their reaction in the screening.
Yeah.
And I was very moved by it. I was very affected by it. I thought it was an excellent film, and again, just so happy I could see it. The last two choices, Rach, it was either this one, or I believe it's called Unicorn Wars, which is a film from Spain. It's an anti-war film that uses kind of like cute cartoon characters, but I think it's super violent.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if it's any good or not. I just decided to pick this other one more out of I don't know, because I think they were both heavy.
Want?
Yeah, they were both heavy. but I was happy to make this choice and hopefully, broaden my horizons about this really horrible.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it was a very interesting film, and I would recommend it to you because I think that you appreciate. I can't say it's necessarily for everyone,
Right.
Given the heavy subject matter, but.
Well, thank you so much for doing this and for sharing your experience, and we can all live vicariously through you. It was
You're
really
nice
fun.
to listen. Thank you for including me on this. And that's such a wonderful festival. Kudos to
Don't they do
the
a great
team.
job?
They did a very nice job.
Yeah. Well, if you were able to attend, if you're listening and you were able to attend the festival, would love to hear your thoughts on these different projects, or maybe if you saw something we didn't talk about, would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section or on Twitter. And Stanford, how can people find you?
On Twitter, I'm at Stanford Clark, and I have a movie podcast and blog at moviespastandpresent.com.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. Also, make sure you check out the Hallmarkies podcast. I did 5 interviews last week.
Rachel!
5 interviews plus other stuff. So it's really, I'm super proud of it. I love it. So please take a look and hear some interviews from interesting people. So check it out over there. And you can look at our whole playlist of all our different indie and talking animation episodes. I'll put a link into that in the description. So thanks so much, everybody, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye.